All right. So first of all, thank you, everybody. Oh my gosh. You know, this has been a dream of mine to put together for a while. So the fact that this has come to fruition is like beyond the moon and the stars for me. So thrilled. I mean, these ladies were texting me and they're like, how you feel? I'm like, I'm so freaking excited, you know? So thank you for coming out. This means the world to me to see everybody, especially to have all three of my daughters in the house. I have Zia, who's walking around taking pictures. I have Zoe, who's hiding in the corner over there. And Zaya, who's been passing out the tickets to you guys. So this is like especially important to me because I'm doing this with my daughters present. I have so many friends and family here, and meeting new friends as well is so important. So just who the hell is Christie, right? Who the hell is Christie that put this together? So I am a real estate agent. I do live here in Chino Hills. I do other things. I just got my what did I get? My life insurance license. I'm like, what the hell did I just get? No, I have my real estate license. And I haven't even drank. That's just water. Oh my gosh. But that's what I need. I need another shot. But so Cocktails with Christie kind of came about because pandemic, I started doing little videos in my office. And then Joaquin, my recorder over there, my videographer over there, he approached me and asked me to do a video. And then I was like, you know, I always wanted to do a podcast. So I started Coffee with Christie. And there is a podcast out there, Coffee with Christie. But the cool thing was a bunch of mamas got together and they're like, Christie, we got to have like drinks and do this. And I was like, all right, let's do Cocktails with Christie. So we were in my kitchen doing Cocktails with Christie. And then, but putting on an event with such amazing women for amazing women was really like the foundation of what started all. And it kept happening and I kept thinking about it. And then finally somebody said, you need to jump. And I jumped and I called every single one of these women and they all said yes. These women up here are amazing, amazing, amazing. I've had the honor to know them, to be friends with them, sisters with them. Oh my gosh. You know, some of them kicked my butt a few times. So it's an honor for me to present them to you. So that's who I am. Everyone here brings something to the table. Not just us up here, but everyone who's in this room, you know. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who helped put this together. So with that, let's get started. I really wanted them to come up here and tell you about their trials and tribulations because we all have dreams. I just shared with you mine, putting this together. And each one of these women came up here and they had a dream, they had an ambition. And it didn't come easy, and I think sometimes when we see the end mark, we think, oh, that must have been easy, and it really isn't. So I wanted them to share their stories and what they do and what they can do to offer you, because hopefully when you walk out of here, you walk away with some good knowledge. So we're going to start with Melanie on the end, since she has the microphone already. So, Melanie, please tell us, what do you do and how did you get here?
Hi, everyone. I'm Melanie Lorenzana. I also live here in Chino Hills, and I'm a publisher. I have 3 private community publications. 2 are in Chino Hills, and 1 is in North Upland. And I absolutely love it. I was thinking about it today, and I was getting teary-eyed, so I'm not a crier, but what I love about it is that it's like social media in print. And imagine taking social media and taking all the negativity out of it, all the politics and division, and that's what we do, just all the good stuff. So it has families and pets and kids we highlight and community events, and we just make people feel special for, when they're in there. And we help businesses connect with these wonderful neighborhoods. So that's what I do. It goes out every month to everybody's mailbox in the area, and I just love it.
Now, how long have you been doing this for?
So it's been about 4.5 years since I started. My 4-year anniversary for the first magazine, Neighbors of West Chino Hills, will be in September.
What did you do before you did this?
Well, way back when, I was an assistant vice president for a large commercial insurance broker. And I worked up the corporate ladder. I finished my master's degree and worked all the time.
How did the
All the
idea of putting a magazine, a city magazine, come to thought?
Well, I ended up leaving that job because I actually wanted to be present for my kids. You know, I'm like, why am I going to have kids and I don't ever see them?
Yeah.
My friend was a publisher in Northern California. It's kind of like a franchise. And she shared the opportunity with me. And I just love the idea because it's so positive and uplifting and I get to bring the community together. So it felt good. And then it was my own business. So I could have autonomy, flexibility because I still want to be present with my kids and be home to chauffeur them to 20 sports and
Yeah.
activities.
Yeah. So, so you thought, okay, my friend is doing this magazine. It's something that I could do too. You didn't have that as a background, correct?
No.
So was it an easy, okay, let me introduce you to this, and then you just open up your own magazine? Or what were the steps that you had to do?
The
to take
company that is kind of my umbrella did training, which is helpful, but it's hard.
Yeah.
It took a lot of tears and a lot of work to get it to print, and you really, you do have to have a thick skin. But, it took me probably about 3 months to get it in print.
To get it in print, to get it off the ground. I remember when you were meeting with people, we met at a Starbucks to have a conversation about being in the magazine and being a sponsor for the magazine. So how many phone calls did you make before?
A lot.
Yeah.
It's you hear no a lot, and then just even getting connected with the person that makes the decision is hard. But once I meet with people and they get to see the project and see what it's about, and it's a great way for them to give back to the community, they love it. So, and it's not always a yes right now. Sometimes it's not the right time, and that's okay. But everyone loves it. I've never had anyone say, this is awful.
Yeah. Now, what did you start off with? What was your publication start off? Because you started off in Upland, did you not?
No, Neighbors of West Chino Hills was my first.
Okay.
And that's the one that has the family on the cover.
Okay, yes. And then, so how many houses did you start off at?
That one was over 3,600. And my second magazine is Chino Hills Sports, which was my passion because my kids chauffeur to all the sports activities. I love sports. I love sports anyway.
Yes.
And so having a kid from the community on the cover and making them feel special and tell their story, I mean, everybody reads that. They love it.
Yeah.
So that was my second one. And then Upland was my third.
And how many houses do you reach now?
Just between the two magazines in Chino Hills, it's probably close to 8,000 and Upland's 5,000.
Yeah.
And those are affluent homeowners. So we target the people that businesses want to hit.
Now, did you have to reach out to, because you have a photographer as well, correct? And you have people who are going to help you print this, who check the stories, who check the graphics that go through that. So did they give that to you, or was that someone that you had to reach out and create that partnership with people?
So thankfully I'm backed by this company it's kind of like a franchise, like I said. So they help me with the printing, the distribution, the designers. They do the mapping and all of that. So it's worth me paying them to do that. But I find the photographer. One of my writers is here, Tammy. So several people in here have been on the cover and been featured, and she's the one that writes the articles and connects with everybody, and I think she likes it. She also does my Upland magazine too.
Nice.
So it's a lot of fun for everybody. But so thankfully I get a lot of support from them. Yeah.
Starting off, when you first started the magazine, how many hours did you work a day?
Well, what was important to me with the business that I started was that I could work after my son goes to school and be done when they get home from school. So during that time frame, I have to be very organized, very intentional, so that I can be really successful at what I do. So I'm on the phone a lot, and I'm in the car a lot. I meet with people in person. I want to face-to-face. I want to get to know business owners. I want it to be a good partnership for us. And so I try to fit it in that window and be as successful as I can be.
That's awesome. What was one of the hardest things, and then what is one of the things that you went through that you're glad you went through that made you who you are today?
Well, I think the hardest thing, and I think anyone has this, is just rude people, people hanging up on you, being mean. I mean, there's, I live in the community. You should be nice. I could be your customer.
Yeah.
And that's a good question. I have to think about that one.
Okay, we'll have to come back to you on that one. And what advice can you give to everybody that's sitting here? As far as, so was this a passion of yours, something that you wanted, always in the back of your mind while you were working at the other career, or?
Well, I never thought I'd be a publisher.
Okay.
I mean, that never even crossed my mind. I don't like to write. I definitely didn't want to do that. But I made, I have my master's degree in business administration, which you do not need to do this, but I always wanted to have my own business. I just didn't know what it was going to be. And so when this opportunity came along, it was just a perfect fit for me and what I wanted. Not everybody's meant to have their own business. It's a lot of work. You are your own marketing person, you're your own accountant, your own cheerleader, your own admin. I mean, it's all on you, plus you're managing your household. So it's a lot of work, and some people like the 9 to 5 and W-2 and just be told what to do and go home, and that's fine too.
That's okay too. Yeah.
That's everybody's different. But for me, I love being my own boss and having that. My daughter's graduating, or promoting. 8th grade promotion next week, and I don't need to ask anyone's permission to take the whole day off. I'm just going to do that because I want to be there. So it's nice if they have something, I can just go to the school and I can go see it. I wanted to have that, and then I don't want to have a boss. I want to be my own boss.
Now, is this something that other people could get into? Let's say that someone's here from Rancho, could they start a magazine up in Rancho, or?
Yes, actually, the company that I am backed by also has, I'm a market manager, so my job is to find more publishers to bring more magazines to communities. So I have someone currently working on Mariloma and Eastvale, but I'm looking for somebody in Rancho and Corona, and all of the IE is wide open. So yes, absolutely. It's free, training, all done. It's a nice career.
So to get this started off, let's say that someone was in Rancho and they wanted to start this out, what would it cost them to get this magazine off the ground?
Time. Yep. You just have to put the time in, and you have to just work hard.
Yeah. Awesome. Now, if you know somebody who lives in Chino Hills, definitely talk with her, because if you have a child who's in sports or you want to be on the magazine, she's the person to speak to. My family had the honor of being on the Chino Hills magazine, and that was a lot of fun. I've been trying to get my daughter to be on the sports, but she doesn't want to.
Maybe after today.
I don't know about that one. She's a little bit shy. Well, thank you, Molly. Okay, so. All right, we're going to go to Manal next, and she has the microphone. So Manal and I met on Instagram, and it really goes to show you how social media impacts our lives today. So we don't even know how we became friends. And one day she called me up. She's like, "How do I know you?" I said, I don't know. I don't know how I know you. And she's like, "Let's get together. Let's have coffee." And I was like, all right, we'll have coffee. And then I said, no, what is it that you do? She said, I do Primerica. I'm like, I don't need life insurance. I'm fine. We don't need to get together. And she was like, okay, no problem. And then New Year's Eve, I think it was New Year's Eve, right? I'm like, I am going to call this woman. And I called her even just to get together for coffee. And I was like, she invited me to coffee. So that way we could just brainstorm my business versus her business. How can we help each other grow? She wasn't trying to sell me anything, but immediately I was that person who was like, I don't need that. And she probably said, I don't need to sell my house. You know what I mean? So, but I reached out and I said, let's get together. Let's have coffee. And then the rest is history. But also actually both these ladies, all three of these ladies are on my podcast, Coffee with Christie. And her story is amazing. So I really wanted her to come here and share her trials and tribulations of how she's where she is today. So tell us about your journey.
Awesome. Well, good
and
evening,
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Good evening. So my name is Manal Masood. I'm from Riverside, just 30 minutes away. We started here in the business at the end of 2008, my husband and I. So originally I'm from Lebanon, from the Middle East. We got married. I came here with my husband. And at the time Primerica found me, the kids were 3 and 5 years of age. I wanted to be somebody, do something, but I didn't want to leave the kids and get into an 8 to 5. I wanted to be a business owner or self-employed, but I didn't even know where to go or how to start. And then this company found us, my husband and I figured, you know what, I have nothing to lose. I'll start on part-time basis. I can still be a mom, a wife, do what I gotta do, but still follow my dreams and just prove me, put in, just my name. And that's how we started. To fast forward to our life today, it's been amazing. Today I'm a national sales director with the company, over 800 licensed agents. But what I'm really passionate about, it's not just the money. I mean, we're in the money industry. So, of course, we talk a lot about money, how to make money, how to save money, how to retire wealthy, how to correct an injustice when it comes to the insurances, because it's a lot that the regular eye doesn't see, doesn't know how to read. So we're specialized in that. But what I'm really passionate about is helping other ladies, other individuals start their own home-based business. With the time that they have, some of the ladies that work with me are full-time, some are part-time, some are spare time, some just, once in a blue moon, is get the license, get the education, and then literally start from home where they can help families make money, build their business. It's a vehicle to make money, and how fast they want to drive it is up to them, basically. So that's what I'm mostly passionate about, helping people make money and add that additional stream of income. Because it's crazy, Christy. Before, back in the 1990s, the average household income was around $50,000 a year. You fast forward till today, after all this inflation and all the prices doubled and tripled, and the average household income in the States is still $50,000 a year.
Yeah, it's not amazing.
Isn't that crazy? And that's why you see more people. I mean, some cities' household incomes are higher than others, but you see that's why you need 2 incomes to survive. Both mom and dad, husband and wife, are both working to making ends meet. And because we deal with finances all the time, so you see the behind the scenes, that what you see on the outside doesn't necessarily match what's the inside, and people are hurting. So once we sit down with middle income families that all they can invest is maybe $50 a month for a retirement account. So that's our market. That's what we're passionate about helping.
One of the things that, not only Manal, but also Carrie, who's going to speak in a little bit, but one of the things that I experienced in real estate this last year is I was running into a lot of people who were doing probate, or they didn't have a trust account, I helped a lot of women who are buying their first home or buying their second home, and I realized a lot of us women, we rely on our spouses, or if we're single, we may not have been taught by our parents how to financially invest in ourselves, how to take care of, if we do own homes, how to protect those homes and make sure that they don't go into probate. And I don't know if you're very familiar with probate, but it does go to court. And that's why I thought it was very important to have these ladies here, because we as individuals need to take care of ourselves too. Yes, we need to take care of our families, but we also need to take care of ourselves. And your husband was actually in the auto industry,
So
correct?
my husband had a mechanic shop. He was the business owner. So when someone asked me what did I do before, I say I own the owner, so that made me an owner. So that's how I justify being a domestic engineer, right? I was a staying-home mom. So I didn't have any idea about none of this, no experience, no degrees, no background. But I mean, to go into business, it's business 101. You gotta find the need and fill in that need. And if you look at the two biggest fears people have is number one, dying too soon and leaving their family in a bad financial situation, or number two, living too long, which is the biggest fear, and not having enough money to retirement, because retirement is not it's not an age. It's an amount of money that you have or don't have. That's why people retire early age. Some people work until they can't anymore. So once we specialize in that, you see that everybody needs what we offer, and I found the passion in helping families achieve those goals.
Yeah. And you guys went through some trials and tribulations too, right? Was it 3 years into the business?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we were 3 years into the business. We were learning still the business, somewhat new in the business. And I started with a cough. That cough, I would go to the doctor. He would say bronchitis, give me antibiotics, send me back home. That happened for 3 months, back to back, back to back. And then until the last one, I walked in and I said, okay, I can't breathe anymore. Something is not bronchitis. So they did imaging, and from there, they right away sent me to the hospital. They said, I don't know how you walked in here. You have a massive tumor encased your heart, created so much fluid inside, pushed your left lung to collapse, and you're breathing on half of your right lung. Looks at my husband, at Tony, and told him, he told Tony that outside of my room, not in front of me. He said, she has 3 to 6 months to live, so go prepare for the worst.
Yeah.
So my husband at the time, he told the doctor, you're fired. That's the last time you walk into my wife's room, because if you already gave up on her mentally, there's nothing else you can do. And he made sure that I didn't know that. I didn't know that I had been given 3 to 6 months to live till after I was already cancer-free, because it tells you the power of the mind.
Right.
But when we joined Primerica, I wasn't the woman that I was today, that I am today. To build a business, just like you said, you need so much mental toughness. You need to have tough skin. You need to be able to take rejections and be okay with it, and then just fight and go after those goals and dreams of yours. So those things I needed to learn to build a business. When I got hit with cancer, I had to fight, and that's where everything came into place. I needed to be mentally tough. I needed how to control my mind, my thoughts, the words that come out of our mouth, because all of that has 99.9% to do with getting cured. It's the body follows what the mind says. And thank God, we've been blessed. What was supposed to break us actually made us. Today, that's the story I talk about everywhere I go all the time. You use those same roadblocks, if you use them correctly, you use them as stepping stones for you to get to the next level. And that's what this company had taught me.
That's awesome. That's amazing. How many people did you say you have underneath you now?
I'm sorry?
How many agents do you have underneath you now?
Today, so we have 11 brokers, meaning they have their own offices, and over 800 licensed agents all over the states. So we started in Riverside, California, and just where we can drive, in an hour or two where we could drive. And with the traffic here in Cali, you gotta really, you can't go too far. You'll spend your day on one appointment. But when the pandemic hit, we had to switch everything to Zoom. And when we switched everything to Zoom, it just unlocked all doors. That's why we started expanding like crazy, because now we have teammates all over the states. You don't have to be next to the office. That's why more moms are working with me now more than ever, because all you need is Wi-Fi, laptop, and you can make money from home. So it's been a blessing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next we have Deborah. Deborah's amazing. I mean, one of the things that I love about Deborah is her demeanor of not giving up, and she makes it seem so effortlessly, just great personality. And she kind of kept, there's a couple of agents in here that know Deborah, right? She's the #1 title rep in the country. So I really wanted to bring her on because her tenacity for business and for just keep going and really knowing customer service is just like a testament to itself. Oh, by the way, I started parking in my driveway backwards.
Awesome.
You have to share that with them.
I will.
But tell us, okay, so Deborah, I want to start off with your story about way back when you were first getting into, you got into title when it was a quote unquote men's world, correct?
It was, yes.
So share that story with us.
So I started in the business when I was 17. I was right out of high school, and I started actually on the switchboard back in the olden days when we had switchboards. Very shortly after that, the county manager said, you're doing a really great job. I want you to come and be my sales secretary. So I started as his secretary and then fell in love with the business. I loved all my sales reps. I figured their commissions every night, and I really loved that part of it. And I thought, this is the business for me. So I went to the management and said, I want to become a sales rep. And I had 4 male managers take me into an office and just kind of fire all these things at me and say, this is what's going to happen. This is a man's world. You're not ready to go out in the field. You need to go out and get sales experience.
I remember when I got into the business of real estate, one of my brokers told me, you need to think like a man in order to, get in this business or to do well in this business. And I was like, how does a man think?
Right.
What am I supposed to do there?
That's the last thing we want to do.
I don't think I did a good job of it, so that's good, right?
It worked.
So okay, and then tell us how you actually left.
So I did. I said, okay, I'll go get sales experience. And so I went through the newspaper. Back in the day, you went through the newspaper to find a job. I went through the newspaper, and I found that the local Volkswagen dealership was hiring for a car salesperson. So I thought, wow, what better sales experience can you get than selling cars? So again, a man's world. There were no women selling cars back in the 80s. So it was kind of fun. I had a great manager. The owner of the dealership taught me everything about every vehicle. I just memorized it all because I still don't understand all that car stuff. But most importantly is I just understood people. As people would come in, I realized that if you want to buy a Volkswagen, I'm going to be the person to sell it to you because I'm going to be honest with you and I'm going to help you. But if you want to buy a different kind of car, I'm not going to hard sell you into a Volkswagen if you don't want a Volkswagen. So I feel like I really had that opportunity to kind of learn about how to read people and how to just be honest with people. And if you're honest and give them what they want, you win.
Yeah. And then, so what did you go on to be at that company?
So I was very blessed at Volkswagen, thanks to great management, where I did become #1 in the country.
She's so humble
My
about
first
it.
year in the business. I was super excited.
How old were you?
21.
21, and the #1 dealer in the country. And then, so what made you stand out amongst all the men that were in the business?
I worked.
You worked, exactly.
Yeah. When everybody else was standing outside smoking, I was walking through the service department looking for people that had older cars to try to get them to buy new cars. I was going through all the service records. I was calling everybody that had older cars to introduce myself. I learned all my own finance. I did not flip my clients over to an F&I guy to take advantage of them, and I didn't like that. I showed every one of my clients the invoice. I said, here's the invoice. I need to make money. The dealership needs to make money. What's fair? And everybody loved that. It wasn't like most car salespeople where they don't let you look at the invoice and you have no idea if you're overpaying. I was just honest with them, and everybody seemed to like that.
You learned the product inside and out where everybody else was just like trying to...
Yeah. I walked the dealership every morning with a binder, and I wrote down every car on the lot, every color that was there, everything. So when the phone rang, I knew what my inventory was.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And then you went back to the title?
And I got a call in, I don't know if it was November-ish, December-ish, I got a call from the county manager of the title company that told me I wasn't ready for sales. And he said, okay, we get it, you're ready for sales. He said, we have an area open for you in Claremont. The sales rep in that area is currently pregnant, but you have to start on Monday. And I said, I can't start on Monday. I'm up for #1 salesperson in the country, first woman ever, master salesperson, first woman ever. I can't start on Monday. He said, well, if you don't start on Monday, the job's not yours anymore. And I'd worked towards this for several years now. So I quit Volkswagen in tears, and I went to go sell title insurance.
I had asked her, when she told me this story, I said, what would you have if you had stayed and waited to receive that award, right? Because, that's a very big acclimate to receive. But instead of staying to receive that award, you left and went on to the career that you're in now. So what would you have received, and what did you tell me?
I don't remember.
Nothing. She said nothing. I would have had the award. I would have still been there, and I wouldn't have the job that I love right now.
It's true.
So,
and I still
yeah.
know I was #1.
You didn't need a
And
paper.
nobody else cares, so it doesn't really matter.
Exactly. Isn't that amazing? Like you just said it right there. No one else cares, but you knew, and you moved on. So what are some things? So now, how long have you been a title rep?
34 years.
34 years. Yeah. And your business partner is?
My husband.
Yes.
My husband and I have worked together. Well, we've worked together for 34 years.
Wow. Well, and then what are some things that you could
33
tell
years.
some of the people in the audience about title and what they can do in regards to their homes? Maybe some things they might need to check.
Well, I think what you talked about earlier is very, very important. Everybody needs to know how they hold title on their property, and I don't think most people know how they hold title. When you purchase a home, there's so much paperwork to fill out, and there's so many things to be concerned with. Not everybody pays attention to how they hold title. A lot of times your agent or escrow or somebody will just say, oh, just take it as joint tenants. And that's not always the best circumstances, the best option for your circumstances. So if you don't know how you hold title, please let us know. I have cards out on the table back there. Please grab one. Give Christie a call, give us a call. We can let you know how you hold title on your property. We'll send you a copy of your deed, but we'll also send you a flyer that tells you what your options are, how you can hold title on the property. This year and last year, we have so many people that are going through probate, as you mentioned earlier, and it's just a nightmare. It's a nightmare for the family. It's a nightmare for everybody. Really, you should have your property in a trust. It is more expensive to set your property up in a trust now, but your family's just going to have to deal with it later if you don't. So, and you don't know what's going to happen. I have neighbors that the husband and wife both jumped in their plane. They had little kids at home, and they crashed into the mountain over here, and both of them passed away. Fortunately, they did have a trust, but my point is, it doesn't matter how old you are. They were very young. It doesn't matter how old you are. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So please, please take care of your family and put your property in a trust. It really does matter.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And congratulations on your title. Speaking of probate, I had an opportunity to work with Carrie on a probate situation. That was a really,
That was a very sad situation.
very,
I'm sorry.
just like mind-blowing situation.
You were amazing. By the
Oh,
way, you went
thank-
above and beyond.
Oh, thank you,
and I
thank you.
appreciate it so much.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for the opportunity. But definitely just another eye-opener. It's like, well, so tell everybody what you do, because I said probate, and then,
So I'm an trust and probate estate planning attorney here in Chino. I've been doing it for 10 years now.
so you've seen a lot of different situations where homes have got into probate, right? I mean, the one that we dealt with together was such an interesting
Yeah.
situation. So, what can you, well, first of all, how long have you been doing this?
10 years.
10 years. What did you do before?
I was a stay-at-home mom.
So what made you decide to get into, first of all, being an attorney, and second of all, this particular field?
So I've always wanted to be an attorney. My mom said that when I was a young kid, 4 and 5, I used to say, don't worry, I'll sue them when I'm an attorney. I don't know if it's true, but something I would probably say. So it's something I always wanted to do. I got married young and had children young, so I had my first child at 25. My husband was in the corporate world, and we moved around a lot. So I decided he had his career. I stayed home. We lived in 5 different states. We had no family around, and I wanted to be with my kids. I didn't want someone else raising them. So I was blessed enough to be able to stay home and enjoy them. We moved to California 14 years ago. And my son was starting kindergarten. We were here for a year and a half, and my son was starting kindergarten. And I told my husband, I said, you know what, it's time. Our whole marriage has been about you and your career. I want to go back to law school. So with 3 kids, my youngest was 5, and my oldest was in, 10. She would have been 10. Yeah, I had to do the math. I started law school.
Wow. Now, going back to law school, I remember when I was in school, there were people of different ages. Did you feel out of place going back to school, being older, or were there other women in the classroom as well that were your age?
So there was a mix. So I did a part-time evening program. So there really was a lot of people that also had full careers. So there was a mix.
That's awesome.
I was very involved in the school. I was, on law review, on moot court. So I had the mix of the kids right out of college, and then the older people that were more my age. So I had a good mix.
That's good.
Yeah.
Now, why did you choose probate?
So it chose me.
Oh.
So when I was in law school, I clerked for a judge and I worked in the DA's office. So my dream was to be a DA. Right out of law school, I live in Yorba Linda. Orange County, a lot of the DAs at that time when I graduated put a hiring freeze on. So I had the opportunity to work in LA at their DA, but I could have been in Burbank. I could have been. So when I started thinking about the amount of time I would spend driving and working, I realized that I wouldn't have my children anymore. And at that point, they were getting older, and I wanted to be able to leave and go see my son's soccer game or be at the play or whatever it was. And my husband still worked, and we still have no family here, so I still could not leave my children. So there was an opportunity. Somebody in the area here was selling a practice, and I just jumped and never thought about being a business owner. My father was a business owner his whole life. So now that I love it, I realize it was probably always in me. But I didn't expect to do it. So it just kind of found me. And then honestly, I've had opportunities to go into the DA since, and I wouldn't leave this area of law. I absolutely love it. And it's so needed and useful, and I just love helping people. So I don't think I would ever leave it.
Isn't it amazing how we get into a career because it found us? So what were some of the, since this was a business that you were buying, did you acquire clients or did you have to go out and solicit?
So I acquired, so the gentleman I bought from stayed with us for just a little bit and then he left. So I acquired some of his clients, and I still have some of his past clients that come back, but I really had to grow the business myself because he wasn't really growing, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I really had to learn to grow it, learn to run the business, learn all aspects. It took a good, the law was kind of the easy part. Running the business was the difficult part. There was a huge learning curve there. But I really started to get involved in different organizations that started giving me the skills to learn how to run a business better. And now I enjoy that as much as I enjoy the law.
That's awesome. What are some things that you can advise the audience as far as avoiding probate? What can they do?
Yeah, so obviously in California, essentially if you own a home or your assets are more than $180,000 and you don't have a trust and you pass away, your estate will go through probate. Probate is just California's process of giving your assets to your family and their plan if you don't have a plan. It is expensive, it takes time, so creating a trust really helps. But today we have a whole generation, probably most of our parents here, baby boomers, that are older and everyone's living longer. And for me, estate planning after your death is very important, but really your lifetime and being incapacitated are the things that people don't think about. Even your own husband, if your husband has a stroke and you are not on one bank account or his pension, or you have to go to court and get a conservatorship. And I'm telling you that it's far more expensive than any probate. And then your entire livelihood, you have to account to the court. And you're like, hold on, this is my money. It's my husband. Doesn't matter. You don't have the authority to do anything for him. It's really weird. So estate planning really helps you plan for incapacity as well. And I think that today with us all living older and the dementia and Alzheimer's and all the progressive diseases that are out there, we are all more than likely going to have to struggle with that. So it's really important.
Yeah. And roughly, like, how much does it cost and how much time does it take to put everything into a plan?
Yeah, so essentially, there's a long form to fill out, which people complain about, but it's really important that we have all of the information because I don't know what I don't know. So I have to learn about you to be able to create a plan that's right for you because they're not one size fits all. And my favorite thing is when someone comes in and says, oh, I'm easy. And then, 2 hours later, they're like, whoa, I'm not easy. I'm like, no one's as easy as they think they are. So, it's typically 2 meetings, sometimes 3, one to get to know you and explain what we're doing and what you have to choose, and we go through it. And then 1 to either sign it, or sometimes we have to plan and it's a couple meetings. Price range, it really does vary because everyone's unique. It could be anywhere from $1,500 to, depending, but the average trust is between $1,500 to $3,000 is the average.
But definitely something worth spending the money on.
100%.
Yeah.
It helps, and I'm sure as a realtor, I'm sure you've all had that house on the block that went into probate that people aren't taking care of, that it's bringing down the values in the other areas. And, mortgage companies are not always kind about people that are going through probate and we have a foreclosure sale we're fighting right now, and the company is just not allowing it. We're going to have to go to court and file a temporary restraining to get them to stop it. So, and if your family has a reverse mortgage and you go through probate, you're just going to lose the house.
Wow.
Yeah, because when you pass away in a reverse mortgage, when the person passes away is when all of the fees and everything start. So if you're going through probate, you have to wait to sell that home. But if you have a trust, you could sell it right away and then at least get some of the value out of it. So there's a lot of things, and there are some things with title that I will tell you I've had, and how you hold title is very important because we're all women, and I was a stay-at-home mom. So when we've bought 4 houses in our life, I've never been able to be on the mortgage and be a borrower because I did not have a job. And then once I got a job, I had a law school loan. So a lot of escrow and people will say, oh, just sign this interspousal deed, that it's your husband's separate property. Well, guess what? We are a community property state. So if you sign your deed over to your husband as a separate property, and your husband dies, guess what? You get 1/3 and your children get 2/3. So you don't get that house. And if you live in a blended family, if you have children that are butt heads, no joke. I'm not joking that I've had 4 litigations and I'm currently in the 5th just this year. And what month are we in? May, because another interspousal deed. I have 1 probate because of it. So how you hold title is really important. So even with my husband, we refinanced, and because of my law school loan, I still could not qualify, but I can still hold title as joint tenants with my husband, and I'm on the loan as a signer, just not a borrower, and it's still him. So there's ways around it. It's just sometimes we have people that you don't know what you don't know, and I don't think escrow officers and people that state that, title people that state to do that, they just don't know. So it's really, my industry I find is about education, because now I'm sure every one of you are going to go home and make sure you didn't sign an interspousal deed. And if you do, call me so we can get the right deed going, because it's just a mess.
Yeah,
So
I've seen that too. I actually had a client where she called me up one day and she said, "What's this paper?" And I was like, "It's an interspousal deed." It was a mess.
Yeah,
it was a mess.
it's a mess.
Because
It's a mess.
her husband was like, "Oh yeah, the lender just said to sign this."
And that's exactly
Yeah.
what's happening. And the lawyers, we always joke and say, who's going to be the first class action suit against these lenders that are advising a legal remedy that is just wreaking havoc on people? And it's awful because we have it. I see it all the time.
Yeah, I don't think in this situation it was the lender. I think in this situation it was definitely the husband.
And that happens a lot too. That happens a lot too. The husband says to do it, and unfortunately, it happens a lot in our, English as a second language. The women are kind of told what to do and here to do this, and that was 2 of my litigations, and it's awful because my husband told me to sign it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, good. Thank you. That's some great information. Can we say thank you to Carrie for that?
Yeah. Oh.
Next we have Stacy. Stacy, we go back some way, don't we?
We do.
Oh my gosh, this lady has so many hats. I don't even when I asked her to speak, I was like, okay, do we talk about her artwork? Do we talk about what she does? Well, she has many hats. She's a broker. She's, Wow, so many different things, right?
Scary.
So share with us what you do.
Well, I'm going to talk about the. Okay,
Talk about
so I'm
whatever you
I'm
want.
a trial consultant, and normally when I tell people I'm a trial consultant, I get blank stares back at me for a trial consultant. So what I do is my clients are litigators. I work for a company, and when they're going to, thank you, when they are going into court, they need to, this is the age of social media. You can't go in and litigate a $1 billion exposure case and pontificate. You have to like show visuals, explain what the story is about, because at the end of the day, the person who has the best story is the winner. So that's what I do. My clients are litigators. I help them develop their story that they're going to share with the jury.
How did you get into doing that?
My background is graphics. I have a degree in graphic design, and the first job I had was in infographics, and everyone probably has heard of infographics now, but you know, in the 90s, no one knew what an infographics artist was, and I worked for the Orange County Register for like 12 years or so. And then when I thought, okay, newspaper was kind of, you know, at one point there were like 20 infographics artists, and then when I quit, I think we were down to like 7 or something. So I thought, I have to get out of this business because, you know, what am I going to do if I'm laid off? And I thought, oh, I'll become a real estate broker. So I got my broker's license. But at the same time, I found litigation graphics and thought, wow, this is a great thing. It was a difficult thing because I was in a business that was non-biased, and it was, you know, in my friends' minds, it was going to the dark side because, you know, there's so many cases that you work on that I started out with that were murder cases that, you know, you wouldn't really want to represent, you know, people like Scott Peterson or, you know, stuff like that. But most of the cases now are, I really don't have any criminal cases. They're all civil cases. So.
What is the hardest part about your career?
Ooh, the hardest part is juggling. You have to, you have all these, I haven't, my eyes are red. I haven't slept for like 2 days because I have clients that are doing their closing arguments tomorrow, and it's really managing your clients that you have all these, litigators that they're really heated because they're going into trial, you know, arguing their case, and they need to have visuals there with them. So it's really being able to juggle and say, I don't think you need this. I think this is a better way to show what you want to show, and being able to take all of, I mean, I don't know, years of someone dealing with a case, and we have about 3 months to deal with it, to tell them, this is what I think you should show. And them saying, well, kick rocks, I've been dealing with it for years. Well, I don't know what you're talking about, and if I don't know what you're talking about, the jury's not going to know what you're talking about. So it's being able to manage the clients that we're working with.
What are some of the things that you've learned throughout this career that you can share with like the public as far as how they can enhance their life from this type of, the things that you see?
Ooh, enhance their lives from the
Like,
things
you
that
know,
I see.
just learned lessons that they can take. What were some of the things that you learned from that?
Well, I'm going to tell you what I've always thought is, I know when I went to college, my dad was a designer also. He was also a fine artist. I'm a fine artist. I told my dad I wanted to go to college for fine art. My dad said, don't do that. Do graphic design. And I wasn't really crazy about graphic design, But I became a graphic designer, and I think if I would have been a traditional graphic designer, I would have. I don't know if I would have lasted in the business. But I tell everyone, find out what your passion is and make it work. And I would have never, there's no way I would have found out of being an infographics artist or being a trial consultant. And it's graphics. It's just graphics, and it's telling someone, if someone has a blue box, I mean, it's being able to tell someone's major story in 5 slides. So the biggest advice is do what you love. And figure out how to make it successful.
Yeah, definitely. That's actually great advice.
I've never had to get up, even when I was in real estate. I was in real estate for 10 years full time. Not once have I gotten up and said, I hate my freaking job.
That is awesome. How many of us can say that, right? Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that is awesome. That is awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And she's actually, or do you have a gallery coming up anytime soon?
Oh, that's been taking off. I don't
Yeah.
know. I've had a few.
So
I
it's-
actually have something going on now.
So share with us.
performance.
Yeah.
It's just I started during COVID. I started really working with my art, and I started having gallery shows, and then the latest one is a collaborative work, and it's my art being projected on a wall behind a choreographed piece, and we've shown it like 4 times now, and it's being shown right now. I couldn't go because I want to do this, but
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, that's another thing. You find out, what your passion and keep going with it. And I'm just shocked that I've had one show after the other. Yeah. It's mixed media, but I deal mostly with political things. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. So where can somebody find this show?
Well, it was at the Lemley in Claremont in the hallway. So it was at a place in Laverne, another place in Laverne. Now it's no place. You'd have to be able to go to the collaborative show.
Yeah.
When it was at a place, Barbara's at the brewery last week.
So it's kind of like a pop-up show?
Yeah, I have to. Well, it's whenever we have a festival or something, like a dance festival.
Oh, nice.
So.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So see, you took what your passion was. Not only are you still working in the field, but then you elaborate it with it.
Yeah,
You took
I
it
figured
outside.
I'm doing these huge cases where I have to take a crazy story and boil it down. Why don't I do that in my artwork?
Yeah.
So that's what I do. If I see, it's a lot of political things. If I see something that I feel passionate about, I do it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right. I like that. Or next we have Shelly. Shelly also has a lot of hats on her, but I want her to talk about her business. She actually had a table outside. There were a couple of vendors who were outside, and you took that. That was also just something that you were kind of doing on the side, right? So tell us what you do.
All right, well, first of all, I might not need the microphone. I talk fast and I talk loud, but hello, everybody. My name is Shelly Bateman, and Christie might get a break here because I'm a talker, but, and I'm closing it out, so I talk fast, so hold on tight. Here we go. Anyways, my name is Shelly. Like I said, I've been in Chino Hills for 23 years. I've been married for 23 years. I have 3 teenage sons, 19, 16, and 14. My boys are all athletes. They play football. They played baseball in the community. I'm a high school counselor at Chino Hills High School. I'm also a trainer at F45. I used to own my own gym, which is where I met Christie. I was a trainer for Christie and the campfire crew over here. And now there's some new faces in here I'm training. So I've been a trainer in the community for 12, 15 years? A long time. I'm getting old. Yeah, it's been a long time. How old are you, Zaya? 14. So longer than Zaya's been alive. So I've been training in Chino Hills. I've trained a lot of women over the years. So a little bit about myself. Like I said, I'm a high school counselor, and I'm also, like I said, a trainer, and I'm a regional vice president with a company called Arbonne, which is a health and wellness company. So I'm going to kind of segue into a little bit different here, but a little bit about me. I love to help others. And I thrive off being busy. I thrive off doing different things. I get bored with the same thing. I'm lucky to sit still. So if I start getting up and pacing, I apologize for walking in front of you guys, but this is hard for me. I like to move. So long story short, so I've been in Arbonne now for 8 years. I'm a regional vice president. I have a team. I have 2 of my team members here with me today. I'm so happy that they're here. But how did I get into this? Like I said, I had a full-time job. I actually went to college. I was a poli-sci major, applied to law school, took my LSATs, and at the last minute, my boyfriend at the time was like, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. I think you should be a stay-at-home mom. I'm like, say what? Okay. So I had a lot of poli-sci classes and history classes, so I was able to double major and become a history teacher. So I started off as a history teacher, then rolled into activities director. So I opened Chino Hills High School. For those of you that live in the community, I actually opened that school as the activities director, picked the colors, the mascot, the seal, everything. That's all me. So if you love the colors, you're welcome. If you hate them, it wasn't me, really. But anyway, so as I'm a counselor at the high school, one of my best friends that was working with me, she was also a counselor, and mind you, she ate horrible. Like literally, she would eat a loaf of bread. That was like, we'd go somewhere and she's like, I want a loaf of bread and M&Ms. Like she was the worst eater. But unfortunately, her daughter at 18 months was diagnosed with diabetes. So she started looking like her whole life turned upside down. So she started looking for, how am I going to even survive? Like I eat bread and M&Ms. Like I don't know how to feed my daughter that's now diabetic. So she started doing research, and long story short, her friend that she went to high school was posting about Arbonne, which is what I do. It's a health and wellness company, and everything that they were posting that you're going to eliminate in your diet was everything that her doctor was telling her. So she's like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do this. So she asked me to do it with her, and I kind of like, oh my gosh, that's so sweet. Like, no, I don't need to lose weight, and like I said, I was a trainer. I also was a fitness competitor, so I used to compete on stage.
Still do?
Have not done it in a while, but I'll probably do it again. But I used to compete on stage, and then I trained others to compete on stage. So I looked at her like, oh, that's so cute. Like, no, I eat well. I don't need to lose weight, but thank you. My husband, I was like, oh, my husband's going to do it with you because he doesn't need to lose weight. So he did it with her. He had great results. He lost like 25 pounds, but through me watching him, I'm like, oh, he like had a pep in his step. He felt better. My girlfriend that I was working with, I came in one day, I'm like, girl, did you get a facial? She's like, no. I'm like, oh, your skin looks great. She's like, oh, it's the cleanse I'm doing. I'm like, oh, you're right. Your hair looks good too. I'm like, all right, I don't want to lose weight, but I'll try your thing. So of course I tried her thing. I was like, holy cow, I slept better. I felt better. Again, I lost weight. I wasn't trying to lose weight, but I did. But it's just a matter of how I was feeling. And so I started looking at it like, okay, well, I wanted to feel more of this. And at the time, like I said, I was a fitness competitor, so I was drinking shakes, doing all the things, and I had 3 teenage sons. They were a little bit younger at the time, obviously, but it's like, Mama, can I have a shake too? I'm like, looking at everything that's in the shakes, like, yeah, no, you can't have this. And so as they got older and now they're athletes, it's like, okay, well, I want to find something that's good for them. And so then I realized, well, hello, this Arbonne stuff is good for them. It's plant-based. It has 20 grams of protein. It has 22 vitamins and minerals. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to sign up, but I'm not going to do it as a business because, hello, I'm a high school counselor. I have 3 degrees. I have 2 masters. Like, I've done all the things. Like, I'm not going to do it as a business. But I love the products. So as women, what do we do when we love products? We talk about them, right? So I was a gym owner, and people would ask me, like, Shelley, what are you drinking? Oh, Arbonne protein, it's great. And so little by little, I grew my business. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, okay, I was doing all the things. I was a high school counselor. I owned the gym. I was training, and I was doing Arbonne. Needless to say, as mothers in here, I was like failing, right? I'm like doing all the things and keeping all the balls in the air. And I was like, holy cow, I can't do all the things. And it wasn't until one day, my youngest, who said to me, Mama, you got a lot of jobs. I'm like, yeah, I guess I do. He goes, but you do Arbonne so you can pay for the gym, right? Because he had heard me telling my husband, like, oh, well, the rent's due, but my Arbonne check's coming, so it'll cover it. Because I was not paying myself. I make more now as a trainer working for somebody else because it was a hobby. I love helping other people. I loved helping people get in shape. And so I started looking at it like, okay, I can't do all the things anymore. And my husband and my best friend at the time, they knew. You couldn't tell me what to give up. They just kept saying, Shelley, like, maybe something has to give. And I'm like, no, I can do all the things all the time. I'm good. And then finally I was like, okay, my oldest was going into high school, and that's when I realized, like, okay, I can't do all the things. I want to be there for him. I can't cover classes in the afternoon because one of my trainers doesn't show up and miss a baseball game or miss a football game. So that's when I really started going, okay, if I love to help people, how can I help people the best? And really it was serving people through Arbonne, because what I'm helping people do is to get healthy inside and outside. I'm helping people with their wealth and their health. And it's such a passion of mine. So I've always been passionate about helping people. I obviously couldn't quit the high school because my boys are still there. I had one graduate last year. And then next year I'll have a freshman and a junior there. So I'm there for 4 more years because my babies are I'm gonna make sure that they have all the right classes and all the right teachers, and I'm gonna keep an eye on them because they are boys. And they're mischievous. So I'm gonna stay there, but Arbonne gave me options. So when I decided that I was gonna sell my gym, and it was a hard decision because I look at some of these faces here, I was not going to let down my members. Like Christie, Flory, Pam, like they'd been coming to my gym. And when I started my gym, I told them like, no, I'm in it for the long haul, like I'm not leaving you. And so when it started getting rough for me, told my husband, I'm like, I can't bail on them. These are like the women in my life, they're counting on me. They need to get healthy. And he's like, well, okay, well, just think about it. So long story short, I decided to sell my gym. Luckily, I was able to find a trainer I used to work with, and she was looking, I heard through the grapevine that she wanted to open her own gym. So I gave her a call. I'm like, Sonia, I hear you want to open a gym. She's like, yes, I do, but I don't have a location, or I don't have like the equipment. I said, girl, I got both. I got the location, I got the equipment. So we sat down and it worked out great. She kept my trainers, she kept my schedule, she kept my members. And I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus, because now I can step away and not have that guilt because I still wanted to help people. So then I stepped into Arbonne, and it was, from there, my life just completely transformed. I have really found a passion for helping people like feel their best, and not just feel their best or like look their best, like not just losing weight, but actually feel their best. I'm a middle-aged woman now. I'm going through menopause. I pretty much am done with menopause, but at this point in my age, at this stage of my life, sorry, I talk so fast sometimes I trip over my words, but I want to help other people feel amazing. And I feel like so many women today, as we get older, we have kids, it's always like, I've gained weight, but, I've had, it's this midsection. It's always the midsection, but, I've had kids. And, after I eat, it's like, I'm bloated and I don't feel good. And there's always something, right? And we just chalk it up to getting older and having kids. And we just are supposed to feel like that. And we're not. You guys, I'm 47, almost 48. And, I still snowboard with my boys. I wakeboard with my boys. We're going surfing next weekend. Like, I do all the things because I want to be active for my teenage boys. And so I have found that Arbonne has been that vehicle for me to help me feel great from the inside. All of our products are plant-based, no chemicals, non-GMO. So we have really superior products that help me feel great. And through menopause, I have continued taking the supplements, and I've continued working out. And I tell women so many times, like there's some women in here that are my age, some are younger, but I will tell you all, the biggest piece of advice is to lift weights. As we get older, we lose muscle mass. And as we lose muscle mass, our metabolism slows down. So I don't do any cardio. I just lift weights. I do a little bit here and there, but I just mostly lift weights because the more muscle mass you have, the more calories you're gonna burn at a sedentary state. So I love to help people with their health. I love to help people with their wealth. Through Arbonne, I was able to semi-retire my husband. My husband used to be an assistant superintendent for Claremont Unified. And so he worked long hours. And it was when my son was going into his freshman year. My husband has always coached my sons in baseball and in football. And he didn't get off work till 5:30, but freshman games were at 3:15. So I thought, I'm like, okay, my husband can't miss out on their games. Like, hello, how are we going to do this? So at that time, my Arbonne business was doing well to where I didn't need to still work at the high school, but again, I'm not living my babies because I'm there to take care of them. So at that time, my husband and I decided that he was going to step down from being an assistant superintendent, and he went back to being a PE teacher. He was able to help me with my kids, take them to school. He got off at 2:15. He still gets off at 2:15. He then goes over to Chino Hills High School where he coaches. So now I'm a high school counselor. I'm a counselor for all athletes at Chino Hills High School. My husband's a football coach. My kids go there. So we're all able to be there as a family, and Arbonne was able to provide that. And so what I'm so passionate now about is helping women to feel their best, to look their best, to even if money is an issue, I love that I get to pay. I make money helping others feel and look their best. And that's what I'm so passionate about. And I've been so blessed that Arbonne's come into my life and that I've met so many amazing men and women through this company. It's allowed, us, our family, to have financial freedom and choices. and allowed me to dream again. And there's so many things I want to do. I'm one of those people that like, I want to do it all. I want to conquer the world. I don't know. So look, you got a break there. Any questions now?
None.
I figured she needed a break from talking, you know.
I love it. I love it.
And I told Christy going into this, I promised her I would, figure out what I was going to say, so I stayed in line because I go off on tangents. But I told her, now I'm just going to talk. Who knows what's going to happen here?
Oh my gosh. So one of the things that I love about this entire panel is that what they do, their passion is helping other people. And if you look around this room, and if you talk to the person on your right, talk to the person on your left, and tell them what you do, I bet you anything. So I heard this saying, you ask, hey, do you know a so-and-so that does this? Or, hey, do you know a so-and-so that does this? And they always go, I know a guy, right? So what I would like everybody to go, I know a girl. That's what I would like. So I would definitely like for everybody to, before we leave, to introduce yourself to the person on the left. Introduce yourself to the person on the right. Tell them what you do. Exchange phone numbers, because just like all the women up here, they have a passion for helping others. I know that there's every single woman that's in here has a passion to help somebody else as well. And if you don't know somebody, you know that woman that could help them. So I want to open it up. If there's any questions in the audience for any of these women, this is the opportunity to ask some questions. Are there any questions? Yes. Ooh, good question.
So a transfer on death deed is actually legislative. So it was created by our lawmakers, and they've actually discontinued it. So I actually wouldn't do them in my practice because I knew they could go away. So if you already executed one, they'll be honored down the road.
Not by the title company.
I was just going to say, however, it's supposed to be grandfathered in till 2025, but then if you signed one now and you pass away past 2025, I'm not entirely sure what's going to happen because the legislation taking the transfer on death deeds away just occurred. So I don't know what's going to happen. So a transfer on death deed has nothing to do with the mortgage. It's the title. But if there's no, because
Right, nothing to do with the mortgage. It just has to do with the
nothing.
transfer. But it's so up in the air, all the laws, that title companies are very, very hesitant to take them. We will look at it and we will ask you a lot of questions. And if it was prepared by an attorney and all of the dates and timelines are right, we may be able to accept it. But 99% of the time we won't.
Yeah, and you asked what the difference was between a transfer on death deed and a trust. A transfer on death deed just deals with that one property, not all of your other assets, and does nothing for you in your incapacity. Yeah.
Great question, though. Thank you for asking that, because a lot of people are relying on those. Thank you.
We have another question.
I have a question for you as well. You mentioned about conservatorship. Is that something that you also do in your practice?
We do. I also do, so I write trusts for people. I do probates and trust administration, which is the process of carrying out your wishes. I do guardianships and conservatorships as well, yes.
And you have a business person?
I do. They're in my purse, but I can put some out, yeah. They're in my purse. Thanks.
Do you also do amendments on trust?
Yeah.
Or a living
Okay.
will in trust?
So yes. So I am hesitant to amend some trusts depending on the amendment, mostly because if the trust isn't a decent trust, it's so hard to say, but if the trust isn't a decent trust, but yes, I do amendments. I also review trusts to kind of let you know what it is, but yes, I do that as well. It's hard to amend other people's trusts because then I have to be responsible for every single thing that was in the original trust. So it's just a little hesitant.
Suggested to me that you would have to go back to the original attorney.
Oh, you absolutely could, but you don't have to. Just like if I wrote a trust for someone and they wanted to go somewhere else, or when their loved one died, they went to another attorney, you can go to whoever you're comfortable with. Yeah.
We had a question over here as well. Oh, sorry.
You're so sweet. She might be biased.
But, you know, she doesn't shoot it away like other lawyers like you can. She really cares and gives you the time, so you should go with her.
It's nice to see you here. One of my clients.
She happens to be my neighbor too.
I know I saw her walk in. I was like, hi, what are you doing here?
So awesome. Do we have any other questions? No? Okay. Yes.
How often, if someone has a trust, how often should they give it?
Great question.
That is a great question. I always recommend always review your trust when the big D's happen: death, disability, divorce. Otherwise, look at it and review it every 3 to 5 years. And really what you want to look at, not so much look at your trusts, but look at the assets that you've acquired and gotten rid of to make sure any assets you've acquired are titled properly. But yeah, 3 to 5 years and then big events.
That's a great question for Manal as well. You do life insurance. How often should a person review their life insurance?
Usually we do like annual follow-ups, not just on their insurance, also on their investments, because there's a lot of changes in the market, and as you age, your objective for the money changes basically. You know, as you get older, you get more conservative. The younger you are, the more your it's aggressive growth. So it all changes as we head towards retirement. The objective changes, where you're investing changes, and then gets to a point where you want to take it from growth to actual income producing, so you can start retiring. And the life insurance plan, it just follows through. We usually recommend that you get yourself a solid term policy that protects you until you build your assets. And once you have your assets, you know, big enough, you're technically self-insured. And another thing that we do is the prepaid legals. That helps with the legal services. A lot of our clients, they can't afford an actual attorney themselves in case something happens or if they get sued. So the prepaid legal is a cool program that you pay membership, and then you have access to attorneys if you do need them. Through them, you do get a free will. We don't do trusts, but the free will, which is just basic, obviously, the trust is different. But it's more catered to the middle income families that need those services, and we educate them on all of that.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to give, sorry.
I'm just going to confess to the company we work for. They helped 25 years ago with my kids' college fund, retirement, life insurance. Still have the prepaid legal. Never really have to use it, but every time I go to cancel it, I go, what if?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need it. So great company. And
Thank you.
my son has chemical sensitivities, and I'll confess to the products that
Arbonne.
Arbonne and their premium good products.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for the feedback. And you know what? I'm a cancer survivor, like I mentioned to you guys. So there's so much within the life insurance policies that the regular eye doesn't know how to read. Before we joined Primerica, my husband and I had State Farm policies, not to bash any other companies, but we had a policy. And the reason I got that exact policy was because my mom had 3 miscarriages before me. So the minute I got pregnant with my daughter, Zaina, right away I told my husband, I need to have a plan, just in case something happens to me, you know, during delivery. That's the reason I bought a policy. Everything went smooth, nothing happened, we're paying for the policy, and then when we got it reviewed by a Primerica agent, that's when, in the exclusions, in the fine print, it did clearly say that the policy wouldn't pay in case the death happened during delivery or anything that has to do with child labor. I was so fuming mad. If I could have got that agent that day, it would have not been good. I was so mad because that's the reason I got the policy. Yeah. But we buy a policy just like a car insurance plan. You get it, you put it in the drawer. When's the next time you open it or review it is when you get in a car accident. Well, with life insurance, there's no redos. We only die once. You either have a plan that covers you or not. But as a cancer patient, cancer survivor, our policies allowed me to take out a percentage up to 40% from my policy while I'm still alive if I needed it for treatments, which it can save someone's life. And when the term ends, I can continue renewing it till the age of 95, honoring my original health, regardless if I'm cancer-free or not. So there's a lot of whistles within policies that people don't know how to read it. So get your plan checked by a professional. And yeah, but thank you so much for the feedback.
Thank you, everybody. I want to give a shout out to all of our helpers here. We have Mike. Mike is actually my lender, and I refer all my clients to him. There are a couple agents in here that use Mike as well. He has helped some of my clients out of some hairy situations and been able to get the loan taken care of. So I just want to say thank you to Mike and U.S. Lending. And to our great DJ right here, Robert. Robert actually has a lot of hats too. I just love, like, one of the things, all these ladies, they have a lot of hats going on and they're taking care of business. But so does Robert. Robert does a lot of different things too. He is my colleague for EXP as well. So he's a real estate agent. He also does this wonderful, he's an amazing DJ. I went to his daughter's wedding and great, had so much fun. And then you also sell. Yeah. So listen, take a look at like I said earlier, take a look at the person next to you. Introduce yourself. We have some great people, the people who are out here that were bringing their wonderful products. We're also going to do a raffle right now, but introduce yourself to them. Tell them what you do. Exchange numbers, because like I said, maybe it might not be tonight, maybe it not be tomorrow, maybe in a month, maybe in a year. You're going to remember, I have a girl, I know a girl, and you're going to be able to get in touch with them. So with that said, I want to say thank you so much to this amazing panel. And then we're going to do the raffle. So Zaya, can you bring the raffle tickets up here? And we have a couple of different things. Yes. 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 Yes, and please come up here, introduce yourself to them. Get their numbers. I do have everybody's email that was that if you registered. If not, you all have my phone number. If not, please come and get it, and then I'll make sure that you do have it. And then you can always reach me as well. Okay. Thank you. All right. So the first thing we're raffling